Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. We're going to go back to some of my own stuff because it is graduation weekend, and so we have all kinds of parties going on and graduation festivities. So there really just isn't a lot of time to get a nice long video of some really obscure comic book that I know that you guys will love and adore. So I'm just going to go over my last month's random access because this is actually something that I've been thinking about for quite a while, and I've been building it up to it. And it's random access number 30, and I'm not going to go through the intro, I guess, of what sponsors my videos, which is my artwork and my comic books. And because I produce a comic book called Random Access, and it's a full-size, full-color, 12-page comic book that I produce every month. And you can get these at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or go to alexanderturbin.com. I don't have this listed yet on alexanderturbin.com, my website, but I'll have that up there shortly. And as with the last month's random access. And you can also contact me at alexturbin04401 at Yahoo, which is my email, or alexturbin04401 at Instagram, and you can just contact me and I will get you set up with whatever you would like. So how this started was this is introducing the character Morgrim, who is a cyclopse, and he's a cyclopse for a reason. I'm just going to go through the whole thing, and I'm not going to rate it because that would be silly. I'd be rating myself a 10. Actually, I wouldn't. I don't think any artist or creator would rate themselves a 10. But I just don't have the self-sacrificing ways about me to give myself a lower grade. But I'll let you guys decide. One of the things I am going to say, though, is that this is in comic book format. And what I'm asking you guys, is this big enough? Do you think this should be in magazine format like most other sword and sorcery comic books are? Or rather, Conan and Call and stuff like that. Should it be in magazine size? Because I think that what I'm going to do is, after I have both of these done in random access, I'm going to put them together in a magazine format, and so it'll give a little bit more space for the art to grow, and so it'd be kind of like almost that size. Because I really feel like it's shrunk down a little bit too much, so you don't really see all of the detail in my art that I really like. This is watercolor. I've been experimenting in this watercolor in particular. It's not really what I've wanted. Watercolor, you can either go two different ways. You can go like the realistic kind of way, or you can go like the I don't know, ink washy kind of. You've all seen the watercolors that are fantastic. David Mack does a great watercolor. There's so many great watercolors out there, and they're like a cross between realism and this just like kind of blotchy weird stuff with watercolor. What I wanted to do, though, I wanted this to be in traditional comic book coloring style, and because I've been searching for that, because I have Dr. Martin pH inks, and that goes over the black ink. So that's one of my problems is the watercolors that I've used before, or the dyes or whatever, they if you don't color out, inside the lines perfectly, which you really can't, because this is an art form that's it's not a coloring book. You're not going to stay within the lines, and plus just a time thing. So I wanted so that I could color over the black lines, and you would still be able to see the black lines perfectly. You can see some of my other stuff, in particular, the Violent Thoughts, Violent Actions comic book, which I will have the second part of that out at some point, or maybe I'll just put it all together and send you guys one of that too, instead of a random access 1 month. Let me know if you subscribe to my random access on Patreon, and if you would like a full book rather than or full book rather than just a continuation of it, because I kind of feel like the that storyline needs a full book. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with the watercolors. There's some certain things that I'm not really into, and I a lot of it is my skill. I'm still learning watercolors, and I still need to figure a lot of things out. A lot of stuff I do like. I do love this panel, and that got a lot of love on Instagram when I was doing it. And so there's some other stuff that I'll talk about later. But this is Morgrim, the Savage Cyclops. I don't have a logo for him yet, but I'm going to be making a logo for that, and it's going to be some sort of Savage sort of Conan kind of logo, something like that. I love my logos. Usually have, if they're two words or multiple words, one word will be like a solid thing, and then the second word will be like either like scratchy or bloody or something like that. That's just kind of my technique and the way I look at things. But I don't know. I'm thinking the Morgrim logo might be a little bit more blocky, maybe rocky or something like that. So who is Morgrim? I say that in the beginning of Random Access, but I don't really get too much into exactly who he is. He's or into the background of why I created him. I am doing stuff for Jamie Barrow's Crom magazine or anthology or whatever, and I really am enjoying it. I love sword and sorcery, and I love fantasy, and there's a lot of fantasy and sword and sorcery already in Random Access, but it's really kind of different. Like Queller was some fantasy sword and sorcery, but he's really not based in sword and sorcery or fantasy. It's more like a modern day take on a sword and sorcery character, I think. I haven't shown that much modern day stuff with Queller, just that one beginning comic book. But there's going to be more stuff. As you know, he's in his current adventures. He's in the 1400s on an island somewhere with a new love, and he's come across some dangerous stuff. But it's not sword and sorcery. It's not fantasy. Cyrene is probably the closest to the sword and sorcery fantasy thing that I was going for. But as I've said before in other places, that it's kind of it's a little bit of a secret as to what she really is and what the genre really is. So that's definitely not sword and sorcery, even though there are a lot of hard elements of sword and sorcery and fantasy in it. So what I wanted to do was I wanted a character that will be my Crom, that will be my Conan. So I was thinking about his how I was going to begin his adventures. I was thinking about how I was going to end his adventures. I was gonna, all of these things that you're considering when you're creating a character like that. And I really wanted this to be like a real world that I'm creating, but it's also part of the Random Access universe. So this is the world that Morgrim lives in, and this is I don't actually have a name for this world. Kind of like Hyboria for Conan. It's basically the same time period as Hyboria, but it's right after the Ice Age, pretty much. And I have a lot of the places named and done, but this is still a work in progress. So I have in the center of the world here is this ginormous lake, and which is called the Mother's Milk, and that has all kinds of streams and stuff going, lake rivers and stuff going into other lakes and going into the ocean and stuff. But this is, in my mind, this is where the meteor hit the Earth and created this giant, killed the dinosaurs and all that stuff. So this is Mother's Milk is actually where the meteor landed and kind of created all of this stuff. We have the Tiny Mountains, which is in Pakistani, I think, is dragon. So it's the Dragon Mountains. And you have all kinds of other things. You have Giants Bay or Giants Blood Bay. All of these different locations will be in Morgrim's stories as I progress. But also, I haven't typed these in yet. I've just have these. Like I said, this is a work in progress. So there's different stuff going on. But I have Kazoth and Vandor. So this is actually the same world as Vandor, which a lot of you have seen in my Instagram posts, I did a daily comic strip of Vandor, the people of Vandor was what it was called, and I think it ran for 2 or 3 months. Doing a daily strip is a grind, but any artist, I highly recommend you trying it. You learn a lot just by story techniques and drawing techniques and the pressure cooker of trying to maintain a daily strip is there's a whole ton of stuff to learn while you're doing that. But so this is, I decided that I wanted Morgrim, him in my universe. And so I put him in, this is actually 100 years before the people of Vandor. So it ties to that very easily. But when the earth matures and changes and all the continents leave and stuff, like this breaks apart, one becomes North America, South America, the other one becomes Europe and Asia, and this probably breaks off into Australia or something like that, the way the tectonic plates move and everything. So then it turns into the modern world, which obviously has Queller, and then all of the stuff that goes on that. The Dark Knight, not the Dark Knight, but the Death Knight is in that same universe because he had that crossover with Queller to kind of explore his origin or some of his origins and stuff. So and then later on, you'll have Cyrene. I'm just gonna break it out there and let everybody know Cyrene is actually in the far, far, far future. Very, very shortly, maybe a year or two before the Earth is going to be destroyed by the sun blowing up or some other kind of catastrophe. So in that storyline, I have Cyrene. She and all of her compatriots live in this giant park. It's like that the rest of humanity, the regular humans that live in their castles and stuff like that not castles, but their futuristic cities and stuff. But Cyrene, they live in this giant preserve. It's like a preserve where the rest of humanity just kind of leave it alone. They don't plan on saving them or anything. They're just going to leave them to their fate. And so there's one last city that is the last bastion of humanity. And as the Cyrene story is going along, which I have not had this in the book yet, but I'm going to, rockets are shooting off from the city, which, because it has the last real recognizable humans left on the planet, and there's like maybe 100,000 or so still in the city, and they're all planning on leaving the Earth and leaving it to its own fate. So that's kind of a backstory of the universe. As you all know from Random Access, they are all intertwined. All of the characters, all of the stories are intertwined, except for that one that I had, the H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard. That is completely separate. But everything else, I feel like, is a complete integration into the storyline. The Symborgs is a little bit, it's like maybe 50 or 60 years in the future, maybe even less than that, when the robots take over and they kind of take over humanity. And a lot of you have seen that storyline, and that is going to continue too. All of these storylines that I have going on are going to continue. But let's get into Morgrim. So Morgrim, like I said, the Savage Cyclops, I start this off in the very beginning, before he's even born yet. He's being born. His mother, she's some sort of witch. But also in Morgrim, and I've explained this a lot to a lot of other people and a lot of other artists, in this world, it is very, the old gods. They are in this world. They control each part, like East Borum and West Borum. They are continually at war, and it's completely controlled by an old god. So I have all of these different old gods that I'm having other artists create and perpetuate and stuff. And I also, like, one of the old gods, Path of the Walker, was created by Chris Knox, and he's just a giant avatar of the god, the Walker god. He's going around this whole the continent and looking for something, and we don't know what he's looking for yet, and we haven't seen him yet. Chris hasn't actually shown me a picture of him yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. And so all of these other people, all of these other artists are creating old gods because this place is controlled by old gods. Like, it could be night here and day here, even though they're right next to each other, or it could be hailing or snowing or something. It's whatever at the whim of the old gods. They play with their people. They don't care about the people. All they care about is entertaining themselves and or creating their own worlds or whatever, creating their own needs or satiating their own needs and their own wants and their own desires. They're much more like the Olympian gods, the Greek gods. They're very, they have sex with everybody. They have, all of these inner conflicts with other gods and stuff like that. It's very much like that. But the old gods are even more heinous, and they really don't care about people at all. So she curses one of the old gods while she's having her baby. And so one of the old gods, or multiple of the old gods, affect the baby. And she goes through this horrendous birth. She's giving birth to this baby, and her sister or her friend or whatever, in my mind, coming along. They're both witches in my mind. I don't have that completely in set in stone yet, but I think they're both witches, and one has cursed the gods, and the other one is like, why would you say that? And so she gives birth to the baby. It's a cyclops. There's no regular cyclops people in this world. It's a freak. And the mother, she's just not cool with that. She doesn't want to have a freak for a baby, so she grabs it. Hopefully, what I really wanted to express in this, and what I'm really hoping I did, is the stress that she goes through having the baby. After she has the baby, she gets up and she bends over a little bit, and so that's why she kind of groans a little bit. And I really want to show that. And it's a bloody mess of a birth. And I just realized the other day that usually births are not bloody. See, I always thought they were bloody, but in this instance, she was having a really hard time. Blood is running down her leg, and so she gives birth to the cyclopean baby, and she hates it. She wants to get rid of it, so she grabs it. She starts walking outside. The other witch is like, you curse the gods, and that's what happened. So what are you doing? Why are you going to do this? So the mother, who is her name is Aisling. She's talked about all of the other gods that it could have been that has cursed her baby. Could have been Hosthar, which is a god, or Goladin, or Sothoth. Mutandis is actually one of the old gods as well. So you'll see the crystalline Mutandis creature god that is out there, as well as in all of my other comics books. So she chucks Morgrim, who doesn't have his name yet. She chucks him into the river, and the river is actually this river that comes down from the tiny mountains and flows into the mother's milk, which is what she says. She hopes it drowns at the bottom of the mother's milk, which I like to say that have this here. A giant lake that feeds the rest of the world, which is just like, I kind of wanted to do that because you always see that in Marvel Comics or DC Comics about a little editorial thing is editor Alex. So that was just a little joke to myself. But then you have the baby going down the stream, floating, or just kind of going down the streams. And I looked it up. Babies do float, and I think they're just so fatty that they float extra well. So we have the old gods looking over what has happened, and one says, "Look, should we kill it?" And no, if it lives, it lives. Its pain shall be most entertaining. So I was going to have him say, one of the gods say, he could have a life more grim. You could never have a life more grim than being a cyclops in this world. But I didn't have that yet. It's another character later on that is going to actually coin that phrase. Then, hopefully, as I've talked about other comic books, when you change scenes, when you change time periods, you have to have some sort of thing saying, years later, something like that, or you don't. Sometimes it just is. It's an automatic thing. And one of the things I wanted to do was I have the baby scene here, and then I have exactly the same scene, and eye closed. Although his mouth isn't open, I probably could have done that, but I kind of feel like he's just taking in the moment. And instead of having a this heinous, tumultuous scene, you have this quiet scene where Morgrim is just kind of taking in the sun and enjoying himself a little bit. And then one of his compatriots is like, Morgrim, Morgrim, Morgrim. And then they have this, he's like, what? And we've entered the Wendigo Pass. What should we do now? So we are in the future. Morgrim is older. Hopefully you get that from the gray hair. But and he references it later on. So I'm hoping that all of this stuff is understandable and it's not confusing, because as I've said before, confusion is the killer of a comic. So I'm going to have to ask some people that have read it, and the patrons anyway, because this has actually gone out to patrons, and I'm going to have to ask them and make sure it's understandable and not confusing at all, because that is the very last thing that I ever wanted to do, is make a comic book that's confusing. As you've seen in all of my videos, that is the death knell as far as I'm concerned of a comic book. He's asking Morgrim what we should do. He's the leader of a group, a band of warriors, and he explains that they're going to put away the gods, the old gods. They're going to put them away. And the other one says, what is to keep them from just destroying us? I mean, they're gods. And Morgrim says he's got this wristband, and he's spent his entire life trying to find ways to make the odds even for him and his band of people for when he's going to put the gods away. So as he says, I spent my youth trying to find something to even the odds. So he finds this band. It keeps the gods from seeing him, but they can create avatars and other heroes and stuff like that to fight them. So they're at the Wendigo Pass, and they're being ambushed by some sort of gods spiders, and they're snow spiders. And hopefully they look cool enough. I think they look kind of cool. They were a little bit difficult to do. And as I said, I'm still working on the watercolors and stuff like that. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this page a lot. I think this came out better than the cover. I had this image of the cover that I really wanted to do, and it didn't really happen the way I wanted it to. I do like it, and I do like the spiders and stuff, and I think they're really cool. So that's pretty much the introduction of Morgrim. There's another 10 pages going to be in either the next random access, or not the next random access, but in a future random access, or I'm going to do it and put it in its own book. But like I said, it might be a magazine size, because I really kind of enjoy the look of this watercolor scheme that I've got going on, but it's just kind of too small. I think it's a little bit too small, and I think if it was bigger, then I think it would kind of show off a little bit more. So here, that was just a little introduction of Morgrim and Random Access number 30, which was last month's. This month's is, as some of you have seen, is a recoloring of the Death Knight story that was in Volume 1 of Random Access. Number 10. Number 10 starts at number 10 and goes through number 12 and 13, or anyway, it's past that. It's two different issues. So the next couple issues of Random Access will be that, and hopefully you like it. And because I'm really enjoying coloring it and stuff, and I'm going to package those all into the Death Knights. I think that'll be Death Knights 3 or 4 or something like that. But anyway, here was just a little video. It's gone a little bit longer than I anticipated. And I will see you guys on Monday, and we'll have another cool comic book to look over. And but thanks for watching. And if you're new to the channel, this is not usually what I do. I usually go through black and white indie comics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, or whatever. But also Marvel and DC, whatever unusual thing that kind of catches my interest. But also, this channel was set up to kind of promote my artwork and my stories and my random access and all of that kind of stuff. And so sometimes I just decide to go over one of my books, and this was this month's little storyline and thing that I went over. So hope you guys enjoy it. And like I said, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell and a thumbs up. I really appreciate thumbs up from you guys. I'm not entirely sure what the algorithm for YouTube is. I mean, do thumbs up mean more, or do subscribers mean more, or how it gets pushed out to the rest of the world? I have no idea. But anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I love comments. If you're new to the channel, like I said, and everybody, I love comments. Please, please, please show me some comments on here about this. What do you think of it? One of the things I didn't say, I decided to make him a Cyclops for a very specific reason. I was working on it. Like I said, I was working on Crom, and he's a free to play with. He's a basically, I can't remember what it's called, but anybody can use them. Anybody can use the original stories. Anybody can use them as a character. Sorry. Public domain. That's what he's public domain, so anybody can use him. And I just kind of wanted my own character that I kind of had a little bit of control over, and I could make as many stories I wanted to, and other people couldn't play in my playground. I do love other people using my characters and stuff like that, but I like also having a little bit of control over it too. And he's a Cyclops because I just hearken so much to the movie Krull, and the Cyclops scene and the Cyclops character was one of my favorites, if not my favorite. And I feel like he was a favorite for everybody, or a lot of people. And so I just wanted that same kind of feeling, and I just wanted to give him a weakness and give him some things that are a little bit harsh for him, because he's going to have a hard life, and that's why he's Morgrim. That's why I chose the name Morgrim, because his life could never be more grim being a Cyclops in this world. So anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday. And as always, keep on creating.